I think a lot of us, when we're young, our career ambitions and passions are driven just by the want to be liked, right? Be liked, the want to have friends, the want to be popular, right? And at least I've seen it in the United States anyway. And you end up trying to be good at doing the things that you're actually good at because there's a lot of things that you're actually really not good at. So for me, I was really bad at sports. Growing up, I was born in Texas. I basically grew up on Long Island and then outside Boston. And those are big kind of sports areas, right? You got football, track, baseball, soccer, lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was terrible at all of them to the point where my parents actually made me play sports. They forced me, whether I wanted to or not, I had to play every sport to just try it to see if I would like it or not. Because in their mind, if I didn't at least try something when I was young, how would I ever know, right? And how would I ever know that maybe I've actually got this really good arm? And I didn't have a good arm at all. So I tried all the sports. And what I really liked doing was theater, right? Like the theater kids, the theater class, the improv, the pretending to be somebody else. I think because I probably just wasn't happy with young, chubby, acne covered Ryan was happier for me. And those kids were far more approving of me, and they would take me in, and whereas the sports kids weren't. And so my initial ambitions and goals were to do theater. My name is Ryan Serhant. I'm a real estate broker and television personality in New York City, and I am the CEO and founder of New York's newest non-traditional real estate brokerage. And you are watching and listening to Behind the Brand with Bryan Elliott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. I'm here with the incomparable Ryan Serhant. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I usually ask my guests, how'd you get this job?
How did I get this job, man? I ran out of money and I didn't want to move home to Colorado. And I had an apartment that was tiny in Koreatown, and I needed to figure out a way to pay the bills. And I had a friend who said, listen, get your real estate license. It's super easy. Anybody in the world could do it. You don't even need to have a brain. And just rent out apartments on Craigslist, pay your rent, and then go do whatever else you want with your time. And that was my first day in the real estate business, the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy.
That sounds a lot like my story. I cut the cord. I was at Universal Pictures. I had a big job on the brand marketing strategy team.
Yeah.
And I had the dream of starting a production company. And my bright idea was to quit Q4 2007, heading into 2008.
Nice.
And so I did. I left everything on the table and went for it. But I want to go back in the chronology a little bit, and I want to get to that, build up that moment, when when the rubber hit the road. What did young Ryan want to be? I've watched a ton of your videos. By the way, I've been a fan from afar. I've been bird dogging you for a while. I know that you pursued acting and, all these things, but for those who haven't been watching your YouTube channel and all the things you're doing on TV, bring us back in the chronology. Young Ryan, what did he want to be?
I think a lot of us, when we're young, our career ambitions and passions are driven just by the want to be liked, right? Be liked. The want to have friends, the want to be popular, right? And at least I've seen it in the United States anyway. And you end up trying to be good at doing the things that you're actually good at because there's a lot of things that you're actually really not good at. So for me, I was really bad at sports. Growing up, I was born in Texas. I basically grew up on Long Island and then outside Boston. And those are big kind of sports areas, right? You got football, track, baseball, soccer, lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was terrible at all of them, to the point where my parents actually made me play sports. They forced me, whether I wanted to or not. I had to play every sport to just try it, to see if I would like it or not. Because in their mind, if I didn't at least try something when I was young, how would I ever know, right? And how would I ever know that maybe I've actually got this really good arm? And I didn't have a good arm at all. So I tried all the sports, and what I really liked doing was theater, right? Like the theater kids, the theater class, the improv, the pretending to be somebody else. I think because I probably just wasn't happy with young, chubby, acne covered Ryan, was happier for me. And those kids were far more approving of me, and they would take me in, and whereas the sports kids weren't. And so my initial ambitions and goals were to do theater, where this was my thing. And it was the first time I ever actually got reactions out of people, because on a playing field and in the classroom, nothing I ever did had a wow moment to it. No one ever said, wow, man, you're really good at math at 10. They never said, wow, you're really good with the ball. You should keep doing this. But I would go on stage or perform in front of a group of friends, and people would laugh, and I would take that approval, right? That kind of like gut instinct approval, and say, maybe this is my support. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what I trained for and practiced for. And I really took it to heart and really went very, very serious with that. And so that was the initial goal.
Yeah, there's a lot going through my mind that is interesting about what you said. The main thread that I hear is that, well, first of all, you got real philosophical with us right off the bat. I love that sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs sort of launch pad. You started talking about needs and, they need to be accepted, our identity. And outsider looking in, I can sort of see your parents' point. I mean, the physicality, you're a big guy, and maybe you were born with certain DNA that maybe sports, from the outside looking in, you had potential. You're way over 6 feet, right? How tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 6'3", and now, so I'm 6'3", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
My brothers are both athletes. My older brother was the quarterback. My little brother was the quarterback. My sister was an athlete, and my dad was, a coach in his off time, on the side. So, sports were just a part of the thing. And I tried them all. I tried every sport down to badminton, and they just weren't for me. And I just, I guess my mentality has always been like, if I don't see this as being really, really productive for my time, then why am I doing it? And that's like a blessing and a curse. It's been very beneficial for me today, building my business and growing and not wasting any time and being super efficient with the things that I do. But as a kid, like, I never looked at soccer as a thing to do for fun and a place to make friends. I looked at it as, this is not, I don't like playing this sport. I don't think I'm going to be any good at it. I think I'm going to waste a lot of time doing it. I'm 9. Why don't I go do something more beneficial with my time? And I think I was probably just a stressed out, anxious little kid.
Well, again, kudos to you for being self-aware at such a young age, because I think it takes a lot of us a while to figure out what we're good at, and then to really hone in and listen to these signals, which it seems like you did at a very young age, to say, all right, this is not working out, or this doesn't light me up, or I'm not getting the feedback or the traction that I'm looking for in sports. Let me pivot. You pivoted at a young age, right? This is what happened. And you went into theater, and you got the feeling and recognize the talent that you had. And that's a gift, man. That's amazing. You did that at such a young age.
Listen, my parents are also very, very tough on me. Like, they are, they're very strict. The type of parents who, if you did a job okay, you did a very bad job, and at the time it was really, I have very clear memories of that being really, really tough growing up. And there being a lot of resentment there, because all my other friends, had their parents were patting them on the back all the time, and they were always great at everything. And, now I appreciate it a lot, and I appreciate the brutal honesty. And I think it carved me into the person that I am today. But it was tough, and I think that, like I woke up when I was 10 years old when I first turned double digits, and I distinctly remember feeling like, wow, I'm double digits already. Life moves pretty fast. I gotta make moves. And I was 10. Like I have that memory. I remember being in my twin bed with my green flannel blankets at 120 Hill Street in Topsfield, Massachusetts. I remember like what the weather was like. I just remember that being such a pivotal moment as a kid growing up, and all of those feelings together, I think, shaped me into the crazy person in New York that I am today.
Well, you've talked on your vlog a lot about, your failed acting career. It doesn't sound like much of a failure to me, because it sounds like this idea of, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So it sounds like you learned a ton. But I want to talk about real estate and that profession, because you also kicked off this talk with also saying everyone told you it was so easy.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of The Office. I don't know if you watch The Office, but there's a character named Toby.
Yes.
And Toby
and I went to the same college. The actor that played him went to Hamilton, and I went to Hamilton.
That's awesome.
We're a big Toby fan.
Yeah, big fan. But, Toby's profession, HR, also gets a bad rap. People say like HR is just one step below real estate agent. And all other professions are like, miles above. Is it really as easy? Give us some clarity here. It can't be that easy. It's got to be very challenging. Interfacing, talking to the public. It's a thankless job.
Being a successful real estate agent is incredibly difficult. Becoming a real estate agent is incredibly easy. Yeah. And if you're in a good market and you're at a brokerage and there's lead flow and you work on a team or somebody, like, you can make a living. But you have to be ruthless. You have to, have an incredibly thick skin, and you have to be a self-starter. And I think, and that's the hardest thing for me to teach people. Like we have a big sales course, an online education training platform and all that. And I could teach anybody how to do anything with regards to real estate, how to sell. I could teach people to have more confidence. I could teach them anything, but how to take initiative and how to be a self-starter is like that one thing that I haven't cracked yet on how to make somebody figure out what their wall is, that they're running from. That's really how you determine like what's going to get you up in the morning. And for a lot of people, it's fear. For a lot of people, it's money. Some people, it's kids and all that. But getting your real estate license is relatively pretty simple anywhere. But in New York, for example, the percentage of people who get their license and then quit in the first 12 months, in those first 12 months is like 82%, because there's no salary, there's no benefits, there's no hourly wages. It's okay. Yeah. You have your license to go make as much money as you could possibly imagine. You can go make $1 billion tomorrow and no one will ever tell you no. There's no cap, there's no limits, there's no bonuses, there's no nothing. Go make whatever you can in your career. At the same time, if you sell or rent 0 properties, you will make no money, you'll be in poverty, you'll go broke, and you'll quit. And a lot of people talk about wanting to be an entrepreneur. They want to be in sales. They watch $1 Million Listing, or they follow me and they want to get into real estate. But then what they don't realize is they're not tuned into who they are as a person, and they really like being told what to do. They like kind of having a boss. They like actually bitching about their boss. They like complaining about their work week on their Saturday and Sunday that they have off. Like, people are addicted to the misery that they become accustomed to. And in real estate, you don't have that, right? In real estate, you can complain about your clients, but if you complain about them, they're not going to work with you. And I think the 2 years that I gave myself in New York after college to try to be an actor, right, to try to do theater and film and TV and all that, was really, really enlightening for me, because it was a slap in the face for what real world is like and what rejection is like. And when you're trying to sell yourself as an actor in a role and go to auditions, which is really what you're doing, you're selling yourself to the casting director and all that. Mm-hmm. Getting rejected to your face about your face is pretty tough. And I did that every day for 2 years, so that when I got into real estate, those 82% of those new agents that quit, They can't handle being an entrepreneur, being in, someone who takes initiative every day, being their own boss, being their own CFO, their own COO, and creating their own business. Those people get told no, and they cry. They don't know what to do because their moms and their dads patted them on the back. They were the most improved player all the time. B's and B minuses were good because we only got C's in our grade. It's like, so we've, there's this whole field of mediocre humans that have entered the workforce that have a really, really hard time facing reality. But those that can succumb that and can come out of it and realize that in sales, especially real estate sales, you have limitless potential to do whatever you want with your life and career, can be wildly successful. And once you have that breakthrough moment, then yes, it can be easy, because then you can become a walking billboard for sales, and you can, you'll have incoming lead flow of people saying, hey, my sister wants to buy a place. Her budget's only $2 million. Will you do it? Sure. And then you don't have to control inventory. I don't build the apartments I sell. Now I invest in things and do all that. But at the beginning, I was just posting ads on Craigslist and showing people rentals that weren't even my own listings. They were just other people's listings. And I would just meet people, and it was all about that relationship. It was everything I ever learned in theater. It was all the improv. It was the being who that person needed me to be, which is what performance is, and turning that into a career.
Reading the room, I'll bet, is also important, right?
Yeah, reading the room, reading people, reading signs. I mean, there are two types of bad salespeople. There's, and I'm going to say this obviously with this disclaimer, because I don't mean any offense to these types of people, but you've got the very pushy salesmen that think people would relate to, let's say, like a car salesman, right? Like kind of that classic, all right, 2 for 1, let's go. I'll give you 4 free wheels. Come on. And they don't know any other way. That's how they sell. And they'll do okay, but they'll lose a lot of business along the way. And then you have the other type of salesperson who's the tour guide. Like that's the person who's on the bus, right, with the microphone, who's saying, and then on your left, you have this bedroom and this other bedroom, and then there's a bathroom, and then there's this. Would you like to get off the bus? And that person can't sell anything, right? They're going to do some, because that's just the way life works. In the middle is somebody who actually works for the deal, and those are the people that find success. And that's took me a little while to figure that out, but once I figured it out, it was running on both legs, fully muscled as fast as I could.
Let's go back in a minute. In this conversation, we talked about people love to complain about their job, or they actually like having a boss. Why do you think that is? I have my own opinion, but I would just love to hear your take on it, and then I'll share mine.
Yeah. I mean, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Negativity is addicting. It's infectious. That's why you see people who gripe and complain and moan and groan all the time. They hang out together. They love it, right? And it makes people feel good to talk about bad things, and it makes people feel good to hear about other people talking about bad things.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get political here, but if the media didn't stop talking about how much they hate Trump so much, he wouldn't be as influential as he is. All people have to do is stop talking about him. Like that's it. But they can't. They're addicted to it. They hate it because it's so bad and so terrible and then you get what you put out into the universe. Like I've always felt that if I put out negativity, and if I put out that things are tough and things are brutal and this year is so hard, if I put that out in front of me, then when I get there, it's going to be tough and it's going to be brutal, because that's what I predicted. And if you predict the future as being really tough and being really upsetting, then that's what the future is going to be. And then the future is not so bright. And then you're going to say, see, I told you so. I knew I was going to get fired. I've been telling you for a year. Because you fucking told everybody you were going to get fired because you suck at your job and you don't want this job in the first place. So I think there's an addictive, habitual mentality to people with how they think. And I think people, like going back to, like I said, when we were little kids, like we all just want to be liked. And if we haven't figured out a way to be liked through positivity, which is actually really, really hard to do because it makes people feel uncomfortable, then it's really easy to find a way to be liked with negativity. And that's why people stick to dead-end jobs. That's why you're going to hear people complain about the fact that they still have 3 jobs that they hate for the rest of their life.
Yeah. It makes me think of that quote, and I can't remember who gets credit for it, but it goes something like, whether you think you can or can't, you're right.
Yep.
And I think complaining or commiserating, I think there's good intentions there that end in a bad result. And because it feels like empathy at first, you feel like, you want to commiserate with someone else. And at first and to a certain degree, that can be healthy, right? Like, let's face it, we don't always have the best day ever. Sometimes we have a hard day.
Yeah, of course.
It's what we do with it afterwards. But I think you're absolutely spot on with this psychological idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, if you're always talking negativity, if you're always saying it's not going to happen, it probably won't. And, you might be the one that's creating that future.
Listen, people, and I don't know any other job, right? My first job was like selling firewood when I was a kid. Other than that, I did, contractor, laborer work, I did demolition, just kind of, because my parents also, every summer I had to have a job, and it had to be a manual labor job. And I hated that too. But man, oh man, the day I graduated college, I was like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to never have to do another roof for the rest of my life. 80-pound bags of roof shingles on your shoulders in like 90-degree heat with 1,000% humidity on the East Coast is not a great way to live your life.
Yeah. I love this advice, and I want to underscore this maybe because it's subtle. It just came out, but this is probably age agnostic, but it mainly is aimed at teenagers and 20-somethings who are trying to navigate their career. And it's just what you said. Sometimes figuring out what you want to do is first understanding what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly fantastic to try stuff on for size, whether that's, manual labor like roofing or chopping wood. This is a terrific way to figure out what you love and what you don't love. Because, in many ways, life is a series of process of elimination, isn't it?
That's exactly what I say to people who are looking to buy a home. We're not shopping for a home. We are eliminating homes that don't work for you. And we're going to get down to 2 options, and we're going to make offers on both and see which one is the best deal. And the deal is going to make the decision for you. And, people can do it the same way. But what I've always liked about real estate is that, in the real estate brokerage business, I guess selfishly, like there's very little risk. I'm a broker at the end of the day. I'm going between a seller with a lot of risk and a buyer with a lot of risk, and I'm just the guy in the middle who's risking his time. But there's also no one's paying me for that time. I'm not an attorney. Whether I get the job done or we win the case or not, I don't then send you a bill for $600 an hour, no matter what, because my time is valuable. We get paid a commission based on what we sell, and we create deals, which is why the real estate brokerage business is never going to go away, because until a house can figure out how to sell itself, a house, right? And that could possibly happen. Like if Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos can get together and figure out how Alexa can become real and control the house to create deals between people trying to trade, then like that is totally on the tables. Like our homes know more about us than anything, because we don't think the homes are listening until now. This is a whole separate conversation. I'm going off on a tangent, but
well, I'm going to be in big trouble if my house starts talking to other houses, because it might say, this guy never mops his kitchen floor, and sure he sweeps, but like the mopping is really lacking, and I'm tired of getting holes drilled in my walls. Where's the what is that called? Like the Velcro. What is that product? Saves the walls. Anyway,
it is an interesting future to think about, where our things can think.
Mm-hmm.
right? And like we are well on our way there. I don't understand how that's possible. I don't understand how it's being created, but I know that there are people actively at work to make that happen. I know that people are actively at work to make it happen where, we can talk to each other without actually having to use words, because the time it takes for us to digest thoughts, turn them into words, give the words, and have you digest those words and turn them back into your own thoughts, there's inefficiencies in that process.
Right.
And same thing for sales, right? Like houses, let's say every house in the United States and every apartment was tied into one central data system and network. One that sounds super scary, but I think it's plausible. And let's say when you're ready to sell and you want to move on, you tell your house, like, hey, we're looking to move. Let me know when someone is looking for a house, and the whole country is just tied together. And home sales can then happen very, very quickly. And then people like me then go out of business when that happens. I think I probably have like a good 150 years though. That sounds a little bit complicated, but like we've all got to be prepared to pivot, which is why, I started this, a new brokerage, right? Which is why we're leading through content, which is why we're leading through follower count and subscription count, because it's, real estate sales is an attention game. The more people who know what you sell, the better. The more eyeballs I can put my listings in front of, the better, right? It's attention and it's brand and it's creating entertaining content that people will pay attention to then drive sales on the back end.
I want to talk about your new venture, which maybe people don't know about because it sort of feels like it snuck up on us, at least snuck up on me. I just sort of assumed that you were already there, but you weren't.
Yeah.
Apparently like 10 years in the making. But so before we ramp up into that, and I also want to talk about your content as a strategy. So I'm the brand guy, right? The show's called Behind the Brand.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the Ryan Serhant brand. What in your definition, what is a brand? And then break down the Serhant brand for me.
So the way I view brand is that brand is reputation. And whatever the reputation is through other people, right? Through the work, through the messaging, that reputation then turns into what the brand is. Mm-hmm. You can't just create a logo, say that it's luxury, and say, now I have a luxurious brand. No, you've created like a fancy looking logo, but if the product is shit, then the brand is kind of shitty or it's kind of fake. And that's what the reputation is going to be. And that's also the difference between, advertising and PR, right? Advertising is push, PR is pull, which is why I've always made a big effort in my business not to fall into the push category, because people don't pay attention to it anymore. We have to do some advertising, we have to remind people, but the business doesn't come through the push. The business comes through the pull, and I can remind people with pushes here and there, whether it's digital ads, Facebook, Instagram, billboards, newspaper articles, mailers, whatever I do. So I think the Serhant brand and the Serhant reputation is a relentless pursuit of quality customer service with regards to high-end real estate sales, is the way I think our brand reads. I think I don't know. It'd be interesting to me to hear what other people think, but I think it also depends on where you know me from. If you just watch $1 Million Listing, you probably think one thing. If it's just the vlog, the YouTube channel, it's another. If you just know me from buying or selling or coming to one of our buildings that we represent, maybe it's another.
Do you want to ask me what I think the Serhant brand is?
Yeah, good. Brand guy. Please tell me what my brand is.
Well, I totally agree with you. I think just like, the meaning of words are in people, not in the words themselves.
Yeah.
So is brand.
Yes.
And at every single touch point, you're going to have a different interpretation. So if you have 1 million customers, you probably have a million different answers for what your brand is.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's a consensus. One of my friends and mentors, Seth Godin, talked a lot about brand, and he said, to determine whether or not you have a brand or not, well, first of all, let's look at hotels. If you go into any major hotel brand, whether that's our friends at Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, whatever, look down at the carpet. Don't look at the marquee. And if you can tell what hotel you're in by looking down at the carpet, then you know you've got a brand. If you can't, you've probably just got a logo.
Yeah.
He said, on the other hand, if Nike, for example, or Apple were to build a hotel, you could probably look around and you'd know that you were in the Apple hotel or the Nike hotel. And that's the difference between, or one of the differences between, differentiating yourself between brand and logo, because a logo is not a brand. So what do I think your brand is? My personal impression is, after, having watched you on YouTube, I think that you're polished professionalism with a very personal human touch. And this is not like a tongue bath. I'm trying to, compliment you so that we can be friends. I think you're very deliberately goofy sometimes. Case in point, you put on that superhero costume, which that takes a lot of guts. Let's face it. I mean, you're a big guy, you're in shape, great, but still, you're a big guy in a big, goofy, Halloween costume.
Yeah, on the streets of New York City talking to strangers. That was so weird.
Yeah, yeah. And so, here you are, clean shaven, shirt, tie, half Windsor. You've got the sort of bar behind you, classic brick wall, New York vibe. And yet you are just sort of like this big kid and kind of goofy and silly sometimes. And I think that's endearing. I think it's nice. I think that's a very approachable kind of brand. And I think it suits you well for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the media team around me who's now laughing while you say that makes me think that you're probably on the money. I don't know what's that. Isn't there a saying that's like, we never really get older. We're just told we're supposed to act older, or is there something like that, right? Like I don't know. I think obviously I'm more mature today than I was when I was 16, but you don't change a whole lot from when you're a teenager. You just get more responsibility. So I know a lot of people who are also, I'm 36, I guess now. I know a lot of people who are also 36 who still act like they're 16 because they've never had to take on responsibility. They don't have bills, they don't have payroll, they're not worried about taxes, they're not worried about, growth. And so they're at home playing Fortnite or Call of Duty, or both at the same time because they're talented.
Well, I think and therein lies the lesson, right? So you're talking about authenticity is what you're really saying. And, if we're kind of fleshing out this idea of what is a brand, or if you're watching this show and you have a brand or you're thinking about building a brand, this is the advice, right? Authenticity, be yourself, unabashed, wear that goofy costume if that's your brand. In many ways, I'm trying to do that too with strategic transparency. I'm on a skateboard sometimes. Sometimes, I look fancier, but I'm also multifaceted, right? There's more to me than just what meets the eye. And so whenever you have an opportunity at those touch points to interact with clients, customers, fans, whatever, you have an opportunity to show them a different side of your brand. And that's why, and this may be a good transition into your content strategy. For me, you will see me strategically working my dogs into my videos because I love dogs, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I want you to know that, because it's sort of this must love dogs. If you don't love dogs, it might be hard for us to be friends. I guess
there's 7 billion people out there. You don't have to love everybody.
Yeah. So talk about your content strategy. And I know that you've been strategically transparent in doing this too. Talk to me about, first, why you're doing it. It's not a new concept. I mean, my buddy Gary Vee is probably the poster child for doing this back when he did Wine Library TV. And Gary and I met in 2007, became fast friends before he was internet famous. And I've sort of been, watching him, studying him, taking pages from his playbook. But help me understand, and the rest of us understand, why you're doing what you're doing, and then what you're doing.
I got very lucky in 2009 where I'd been in the real estate business, or I guess it was the beginning of 2010. I'd been in the real estate business for about a year and a half. I'd only been taking it seriously for like 4 or 5 months. And there was a casting call for the New York version of a show called $1,000,000 Listing on Bravo. That was a show based about a couple of different real estate agents and their business and their life in Los Angeles. So I went to the casting call at the Hudson Hotel in New York City, and I showed up with 3,000 agents. And we all had a handful of seconds in front of a camera to tell them why we were the best real estate agents in New York City. You know, they were looking for the best, you know, the biggest, the ones with the most sales, and they wanted to create a very, very high, fast flying show. And I think I blacked out for most of it. But, you know, through the process of 9 months, they kept calling me back, and I kept, you know, interviewing and auditioning, and they cast me on it. And had they not done that, I don't know where I'd be today. I don't know where I would have kind of led myself. I might have gone back to business school or something. Yeah. But I then saw what attention on my business. Yeah.
Why do you think they picked you of all those people? What do you think it was?
I think I had a lot of practice being in front of a camera. I think my whole life. And listen, I'd put acting totally aside. I ran out of money, and all the acting and everything, my whole dream, you know, that passion I had of being on Broadway, I put to the side. And what I just didn't want to do is I didn't want to grow up and not be successful. Like, I chose success first. You know, I always kind of like picture us like we're all on this like river, you know, this river of life, and we all have our own version of success somewhere down the river. We just can't see it because it's around a bend or around a rock or over a waterfall, right? And I knew I wanted to be successful because I only have one life to live. I'm not going to bitch and moan about how it didn't work on Broadway. You know, I got to figure it out. So I got my real estate license, so I didn't have to become a bartender or a waiter. Like, those are the three options I had: bartend, wait tables. Both of those, you don't make your own hours. You just got to be there whenever. Temp, right? Do a temp job. Or fourth option is get your real estate license and see if you can rent apartments and pay your rent. So that's the whole reason I did it, because I thought my time would be my own. And, you know, and so that's, you know, so that's what I did to try to figure out like kind of the way that I could stay in New York City and, you know, and make it.
So you think it's the charisma? You're pure charisma. Maybe you showed the casting agents, because I think a lot of people are also wondering, how do I get on TV? Maybe I'm an aspiring actor.
It goes right back to what you were just saying about brand. Yeah. It's like, I know most people don't think there's anything special about them, but I promise you, and I know it's cliche, you are authentically you. And that's who you put out there. And you then have to be okay with your authentic self not being right for a lot of things. That's why I kind of credit my parents for forcing me to try everything I didn't want to try and take every class I didn't want to take, because I was only ever going to be good at the things that I actually liked being good at, not the things that I was necessarily just good at, right? You got to like being good at it to then work at it and to be even better and better and better. And so, you know, the theater training, the acting training, the in the camera training that I had, I think was super helpful for me when I got in front of the camera, because I didn't clam up. I wasn't nervous. It was just kind of this weird experience for me, but I've been in front of cameras 1,000 times auditioning for things that I didn't get before. So I was totally fine with it. And now, you know, and I also didn't want it. I think there's, you know, I went, but by the time I got there and I saw all these people, I had this like weird pit in my stomach of like, what am I doing? I put acting to the side. I'm a real estate agent now. Like, this is what I want to do with my life, my career. Why did I show up to this? I don't want to be a Kardashian. I don't want to be on Survivor. Like, in 2010, reality TV was very different than what it is today. Oh, yeah. And you know, and when I went into that audition, I just sort of was just myself, totally. I think I was very serious, but I think I was also goofy. I think I was a bit inappropriate, and I think I just left. And I remember my final audition with them, which was 8 months later, where they came and they followed me around for a couple hours in the city to see what my life was like. I ran out of things to do, and so I just told them, listen, I'm super busy. I know you want to film with me for the next couple hours. I got to go. And I left them on the street. And I was like, Matt, fucked it up. That's it. Yeah, everybody else is going to have all these huge clients and they're going to do that. And then when they came back to me, they're like, you're the only one who was leading their own life and not trying to impress us. So like, I think I was just authentic and organic and my own personality. And I was unapologetic about it. But I was also smart about what they were looking for. Like,
Yeah.
I also knew where to look, how to stand, how to present myself. You know, if you are authentically messy and smelly, then like get clothes and take a shower. You can't just say, well, I'm just being myself, dude. I love this shirt. I've worn it every day for 3 years. Like, no, bro, get a new shirt. So you also have to be a professional, and you have to understand that there is a bit of selling yourself and all of these things.
Yeah. I like that lesson, though. I want to underscore it for people who might have missed it. You totally flipped the script on them. You flipped the script, and
it doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work, but like when you zig and everyone else is zagging, it's a way to differentiate yourself. And you also kind of created this concept, which is super important in all business, whether you're selling products or service, and that is scarcity. So you made yourself scarce, which, like diamonds or gold or any rare or precious things, it drives up the value. And I think that's a super important lesson if you're paying attention. That's good on you. I mean, super smart.
Yeah, I mean, listen, supply and demand. Mm-hmm. I left them on the street because I didn't have anything else to do, and I didn't want to tell them that that's all I got for you.
Yeah,
right? That wouldn't have worked. I left them on the street just to leave them, and I had worked. And actually, I remember I knew to do that because I'd gone on a date with a girl. Okay, it all comes back to dating, everything. I'd gone on a date with a girl who was really nice, and it was great. Like, we went to dinner and drinks, and then she got a phone call as we were like leaving to go to the next spot. She got a phone call that looked pretty serious and said she was really, really sorry. She had a lot going on at work. She had to go take care of an emergency. She would call me, and she had to leave. And she just left. She didn't wait for me to say goodbye. She just left. And for a split second, I remember thinking, that's rude. That's weird. Did I do something wrong? But then the rest of me was like, wow, I want to see her again. Like, that, what just happened? Like, everything was great, and then she just walked away, jumped in a cab and left. Like, that makes you want to see that person again. So it's, the takeaway is a classic negotiating technique, and man, oh man, does it work over and over and over. That's why it's classic. That's why you do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're creating content. Break it down for us. Let's get a little bit specific. So you chose YouTube as your sort of, basic, your major platform. You're also on all the other socials, but like, why YouTube, and how's that working for you? Like, how are you using it?
So I got into real estate in 2008. I had been at the same brokerage firm for 12 years, never had another reason to leave. I built the largest sales team in the country, bi-coastal, and we were the number one sales team in New York for 5 years in a row. We did somewhere between, depending on the year, somewhere between $720 and $850 million in sales a year. You factor in contracts, last year I did $1.4 billion in sales.
Decent.
We were doing fine. Yeah, and but there's always more, right? I always want to do more, and I saw how the game of attention and the game of content was really changing sales, and how everything that I did on $1 Million Listing turned into a career for me. So if I can do that for other people on a platform that I can control, then I can create a real estate brokerage that is agent first, which I think the most successful brokerages are, that also really focuses on client service and giving quality customer service to everybody. And I could create a real estate brokerage that doesn't exist. And that's why I never did it before. A lot of people thought I was by myself for a while, but I just built a brand around myself so that I could be autonomous if I ever needed to be. And that ended up working out just okay for me. But now in 2020, the world's in a very different place. A lot of people are virtual. Everyone is mobile. The best salespeople I see are global mobile, at all times. They don't need offices. They're moving all the time. It's just about that focus. And so our real estate brokerage, which is based in New York City, has an in-house film studio and production company that is geared towards building content for our agents and for our listings, our properties, and our developers. There's also a division called ID Lab, which is our marketing and innovation hub, which is a marketing agency that we have to work with. We work with marketing agencies all the time, third party, and they get paid so much money. It's like, why don't I'll bring that in-house too, and we'll do that together. So we'll deliver everything that people want.
Yeah.
But as brokers.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, one-stop shop, and kind of bring things under one roof, so, and I feel like the traditional brokerage model is take pretty photos, stick them on the internet, sell it, you get your split, you go on to the next one, and that just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me, and I just don't think it's going to work for people that much longer. And so one of the things that we're doing with the film studio is we're doing this thing with YouTube, and it's called Listed. It's a media network called, technically listed by Serhant, because the company is called Serhant, and it is, right now we have 7 different shows in production that feature our agents, and they're between 8 and 12 minutes per episode. Every show is 6 episodes, and the agents themselves are showing off what they also like and what they're good at. So, for example, one of our agents is a great cook, loves cooking, but is also a good salesperson. So their show is Meals and Mansions. So it's property tours in big, beautiful properties. So it helps them get listings. It helps them show themselves off to other sellers and gives them a pitch tool that nobody else has. And then they go on every episode is them going into the kitchens of these properties and showcasing how beautiful the kitchens are, and then trying to cook a meal in them, and and the niche audience there is people who like real estate, people who like the personality of the host, and people who like food and kitchens, right? We have another agent.
Well, can I just pause and just break it down for 1 second? And so what you're doing, it sounds like, is you, instead of like you see most real estate agents out there, at least I do, leading with, here's the property, drone shot, inside shot, whatever, swooping, camera work, and then the price, and then you're out, all the features and benefits. And, marketing isn't about features and benefits, right? It's about telling a story. So you're now putting the real estate in the background, you're putting the human in the foreground, and it sounds like the key element is delivering the value, which is, if you love food, this is a food show, also, put on by someone who's mildly entertaining, also with some relevance in a place that you may get inspired by. Either, if you're ready to move or sell your place, you could also learn about that. And so it's sort of like this 360 storytelling approach versus pushing properties in your face.
Listen, if you want to call pushing real estate as advertising for the sake of this conversation, right? It's very organic advertising. It's product placement of our properties in a piece of entertainment. And what's important for me is, the leader of the brokerage is, every other brokerage, wants their agents to come and be on their platform. You're going to be on our platform. You're going to be part of our brokerage. You're going to carry our flag. You're going to push us out. I'm giving every agent their own platform. Yeah. My brand and my reputation are fine. I've spent 12 years really building it out. I think there's a lot of people all over the world who know me as the guy that sells real estate, whether they know my name or not. And that's, and I've been very fortunate to be in that position. So I'm here now to give real estate agents in New York, and then we'll branch out from there, a platform in the way that any other brokerage can't give them. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be crazy. It's a significant amount of work, and it's a big undertaking, but I think it'll be very, very cool.
I mean, it's a brilliant idea. I want to know for what advice you have to people who are not part of your team. And I suspect, part of your goal is to attract great talent, right? Yeah. Like, by offering all these tools and resources, you're saying, we want the best and the brightest, come, and whether you live in Paris or Laguna Beach or wherever you are, Guatemala, you could still do this model from where you're at, right?
You could do, well, yeah. I mean, for now we're staying in New York because that's where our license is. But the course, which is another big driver for us, we're at almost 5,000 agents in 100 countries in our first year, which there are millions of agents around the world, so we're not there yet. But 5,000 is by far and away has exceeded my expectations, and they're all good agents, and they're they're quality salespeople, and they're a big referral source for us. And it's created a top tier, educated referral platform that has never existed in brokerage before for a real estate brokerage. And those agents can take this model, and we'll be able to go into any of these networks that we're already in and plant our flag and do one of our houses there.
What do you say to people who are trying to create content though and tell their own stories? Maybe they're not a real estate agent and they're doing something else. What advice can you give to content creators? Because I think a lot of us get discouraged because we don't see the views, or we're not on TV to help. You know, we haven't sold books, so we don't have that cachet. What advice do you have?
Consistent and quality. That's it, right? You, first and foremost, you have to be consistent. Doing 6 videos and then stopping it because you didn't get the views is like going to the gym 6 times and then stopping it because you can't see your 6-pack. Okay? It is exactly the same. You have to be consistent, and then you have to focus on quality. Okay? If we're going to stay on this personal fitness analogy that I just started, the quality is the nutrition, right? Like if you go to the gym all the time, but then you eat like shit and it's not good and nothing looks good, then you're just wasting your time. So you also got to focus on the quality and make sure that you're producing content that is interesting, that is somewhat entertaining. And even if you are Toby from The Office, if you're monotone, boring, you work in HR, that is quality content for people, right? Just make sure you're not like filming it with your phone like this up against this and talking, like make sure you do it. You can find interns, right? There are so many people who understand how content works now, who grew up on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter and TikTok and the next one and the next one and the next one. You can find people that are younger than you, even if you're 23, right? Who can help you. And if you're older, you can definitely find people who are younger than you, who can help you, who know how to help you create content, and just be consistent. Like for us, no matter what, like we hit our print time, right? It's every Wednesday. It was every Wednesday at 8. Now it's every Wednesday at noon. And that's it, right? So that people can understand, like, oh, Ryan puts out a video every Wednesday at noon. And for you, no matter what you're putting out there, you know, people like consistency. They like to know when it's coming, when it's there, what to look for. It makes them feel good.
I'll go back to you zig when other people zag. I mean, I have been thinking a lot about this strategy of wisdom in unconventional places. You know, sometimes they talk about unconventional wisdom, but like wisdom in unconventional places, whether that's on YouTube or you find your voice on TikTok or, you know, whatever space you're in, Serhant is still flipping the script. Like, you know, you're doing it very unconventionally, and you're delivering that quality maybe in places that people didn't expect. And that's because for you, it could be a land grab. No one else is doing it like you're doing it. You know, Bravo's doing it on TV, but we expect it. But who is doing it on YouTube? No one. You. So you have first mover advantage. I just think, you know.
Yeah, I think, thanks. I think it's, listen, at the end of the day, life is short, and last thing I want to do is be bored, right? Like I don't want to waste my life. Like my biggest fear, and this goes back to me being 10 and freaking out that I was hitting double digits, is the fear of wasted potential. Like, you know, there's my sister sent me this little like paperweight that's on my table downstairs that says like, what would you attempt to do if you knew you wouldn't fail? And it's like, it's one of those sayings that you can hear 1,000 times. If you Google it, probably everybody said it, from Einstein to Teddy Roosevelt. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. But like, it's true. Like if you go into it knowing it's not going to work out, you'll never do anything. Like you wouldn't get out of bed. You wouldn't cross the street. So the same thing for us, for being an entrepreneur, for being somebody who can start a business. It is 2020. You can do whatever you want today to be successful. You can start whatever business in whatever area you can to make money. You just got to go out and actually do it. Take the initiative, just start, make it happen, stay consistent, pivot when things don't work out. You know, like we're going to put out these 7 shows to start on Listed. And you can go there by going to youtube.com/listed. But I mean, maybe 3 of them will be good. I hope all 7 are great. We've poured our blood, sweat, and tears into them, but who knows? And it's okay. We'll pivot. We'll figure it out. We'll move. It's fine. And that's the secret sauce, you know? You stay flexible, you adapt, you move fast.
Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man, I gotta blow today. Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man, I gotta blow today. I'ma blow today. I ain't hearing what they say. Need a blue face, I've been caring about a race. I've been trying to eat, I need more than just a taste. Now they trying to talk, oh no, they should know their place. Man, I'm ballin', this ain't cap, baby, now I feel like calling. From the O, but I got the music poppin'. All the time, man, it started to get obnoxious.